Alright guys, so I am going to teach you guys a mini lesson today based on how you guys did on your last week's reading street test. I had a chance to take a look at your data to see some areas that you guys are struggling with. So I put you guys in a group together. Are you guys normally grouped together?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Yeah,
Okay.
stop it. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about in class. Are you guys usually grouped together?
No.
Okay. So the reason that I have you guys grouped together is because all three of you had the same struggle on your reading street test. Do you want to know what that was? Yeah. Okay. So you guys struggled with comparing and contrasting of stories, but there are different layers to that. So the standard talked about comparing and contrasting characters, settings, and events. So when I looked back at the questions and the answers that you guys picked, it was very clear to me that you guys did not struggle with comparing the characters. Like you could say how characters were the same, you could say how characters were different. What you struggled with is comparing and contrasting events in a text, which means what's happening. Like you could not necessarily identify how the events were similar and how the events were different. So that's what we're gonna work on today. Cool beans? All right. So here's how this is gonna go. I'm gonna do a read aloud for you guys, but I want you guys to follow along with me. As I am reading, I'm gonna be modeling and thinking aloud to kind of give you guys some strategies to help you to compare and contrast events, okay? Yes? Cool. So I'm gonna hand you guys the readers. And then my only ask of you is to follow along as I'm reading, okay? So we're gonna read a leveled reader called Kids Helping Kids, and we're gonna use that to help us with comparing and contrasting. All right? Okay, so let's go ahead and turn to page 2. Are we ready? Fingers set, first word. Tracking as I read along. In August 2005, a big hurricane came to the United States. The hurricane hit land on the Gulf Coast. Big waves rose up. Heavy rain fell down. Strong winds blew. Many people left before the storm hit. Some people had to stay in their homes. The hurricane was named Hurricane Katrina. It struck New Orleans, Louisiana, the worst. Water covered the streets. Homes and other buildings were destroyed. People were scared. Many families moved to other states. Children went to school in new places. Other children wanted to help them. What could children do to help New Orleans? In Chicago, Illinois, children sold lemonade. One group made $2,000. The children sent the money to the hurricane victims. Victims are people who are hurt by something or someone. In schools across the country, children wanted to help. Groups of children helped to send food to New Orleans. Groups of other children also sent other supplies. Supplies are things that people need. In California, a 6-year-old boy made a sign. He asked people to give money for the victims. He raised $14,000 for them. In Florida, children made necklaces. They sold them. The money helped hurricane victims at their school. These victims lost their homes in the storm. Now we're gonna stop here, and I'm gonna go ahead and do some modeling and some think aloud to kind of help you guys to compare and contrast. So as I am thinking, I know that children who were not a part of the hurricane really felt bad for the people who were, so they wanted to help out, right? So I think about everything that we read on pages 4 and 5, and I'm thinking about some things that I know. Well, I know one thing is that a group of children that wanted to help came from Chicago, Illinois, right? Where was another group of children from? Shahama?
Florida?
Absolutely. So there was another group of children from Florida. Did you want to share something, Ms. Rupp?
Yeah, in California.
And California. So I'm thinking to myself, well, the groups of children in Chicago, and let's take California for example, well, how are these two groups, or how did these two groups of children help in a similar way? So I'm going to compare them. Well, what was the same about them? Well, yeah, they're both groups of children, but we can go at a deeper level, right? So what was the same about them? I think to myself, they both wanted to help the victims from the hurricane, right? Now, for me, I think a strategy to help compare and contrast is to think of how things are the same first, and then that can help us to identify how they are different. So we already know that the students in Chicago and the students in California, they both wanted to help the victims, right? But now I'm thinking to myself, did they help in the same exact way? Did they do exactly the same thing? Okay, so if they both wanted to help, which is similar, if they weren't exactly the same, what could be different about the way that they helped? What was different? If you need to go back into the text, go ahead and do that. What was different about the children in Chicago on page number 4? And what was different about the children in California that wanted to help? What are you thinking, Shahama?
Chicago, one group made $2,000, raised 2,000, and in California, he raised $14,000.
Okay, so let me have you think a little bit about that. So what's different about that? You gave me information from the text. You said in Chicago they raised $2,000, but in California they raised $14,000. That's information, but you weren't specific about how they're different. What makes those things different? What makes the Chicago group raising $2,000 any different than the California group that raised $14,000? How is that different?
The California raised more than.
There you go. So if we were to compare the group from Chicago and the group from California, we can say they're similar because they both raised money, right? But we can also contrast them by saying what, Shaman?
California raised more.
The California group raised more, right? You know something else that I think about that we can contrast that is different? They both raised money, but did they raise the money in the same way? Did they do the same exact thing to get the money? What was the difference, Shema? How can we contrast the way that they raised money?
In California, using posters.
Okay, so in California, the kids just held up the sign, right? And said, there were people who lost a lot of things in the hurricane in New Orleans. Can you donate money to them? Well, how is that different from the kids in Chicago? What did they do to raise the money? They did the lemonade stand. So right there, there's a contrast. There's a difference. One of them raised money just by holding up a sign saying, can you donate money? The other one, they sold lemonade to raise the money, right? Awesome. So we're going to keep going, but the next time we stop, I'm going to have you guys do a turn and talk. Well, you two are next to each other, so you guys will do the turn and talk, and then Shahaman and I will do the turn and talk. But I want to see if you guys are kind of taking in my modeling and my think aloud so that you'll be able to successfully compare and contrast the events. Sound good? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let's turn to pages 6 and 7 and continue to track along with your finger as I read along. In Maryland, 3 sisters started a group. They filled backpacks with school supplies. People gave toys and books to put in the backpacks. In 1 month, the sisters sent 25,000 backpacks to the hurricane victims. 5-year-old KJ Lewis felt sad. Children had lost all of their toys in the hurricane. He sent some of his toys to the victims. KJ's city helped him send toys. They sent 2,000 pounds of toys. KJ and his mother went to New Orleans. They saw some of the children get their toys. So let's stop here. I'm going to give you guys about a minute of think time because you have to really think about the events that occurred on pages 6 and 7. So I'm going to say go. Don't talk. Just take the minute to think, and then we'll come back together. I want you guys to think about how the sisters in Maryland and how KJ were alike. How is what they did similar? So we're gonna compare them, okay? So let me set my timer so that I just give you 1 minute to think. Time starts now. Okay, let's go ahead and come back together. So I'd like you two to turn and talk and have some type of discussion to compare the sisters in Maryland to KJ and his mom. And then Shahaman and I will talk to compare and see how they were similar. Ready? Go. What do you think? How do you think that they're similar, the sisters in Maryland and KJ?
They both gave toys and both they felt bad because the children in New Orleans,
I think the same too.
They lost their toys from the hurricane. And the three sisters since they put supplies in their backpacks so for the
Okay, Nusrat, can you help her out? She's having a little trouble figuring out what type of help the sisters in Maryland provided to the hurricane victims. Can you help her out with that?
Yeah, but they both did the same thing, but they did the same thing, but with like toys. But in the sisters in Maryland, they put backpacks in them, like the toys.
So it says here that the sisters in Maryland put toys in the backpack?
Yeah.
Okay, go back into the text and show me where it says that.
Oh, look, people gave toys and books to put in the backpacks.
Very nice. So Nusrat is saying that how the sisters in Maryland are similar and we can compare them to KJ. They donated toys and they also donated toys, right? KJ also donated toys. Well, guess what? That's a lot different than what Shahamad and I discussed, because Shahamad shared with me that we can compare them because both of them donated, but you guys kind of took that to the next level and said specifically, Nusrat said specifically what they donated. They both donated toys, correct? Awesome? Yes? Okay, so now let's think about how they're different. How can we contrast them? We know that the three sisters in Maryland and KJ donated things, and we also know that they both donated toys. What was different about them? If you need to go back into the text, feel free to do that.
Can you repeat your question? I didn't hear it.
What was different about the donations that the three sisters from Maryland made with the KJ? What was different? How can we contrast those two donations? Any thoughts about how those two events are different? They both donated, but how are they different?
They put in the sisters in Maryland. They gave toys and books and put them in the backpack. But 5-year-old KJ Lewis, he felt sad, so he just gave toys and not with books and.
So Nusrat went back into the text and figured out that the sisters they gave books also, but KJ didn't give books. He only gave what?
Toys.
He only gave toys. So that's a way to contrast or tell how they're different. Yes? Any questions? No? Okay, so what we're gonna do now is to check your understanding on comparing and contrasting events of a text. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a short passage. What you'll find is that the passage is really short, and I brought it down a couple of levels because I don't want you to struggle with the reading. I want you to be able to read it so that I can know if you can compare and contrast it, okay? If you can read it, it's a little easier for you. So the passage is brought down to your level. So I want you guys to read the short passage, and then I have an exit ticket to kind of check your progress with comparing and contrasting. And what you'll notice on the exit ticket is the first question is a short answer where you have to write the answer in. And the second question is a multiple choice where you have to pick the answer. I did those two types of questions just in case you have a hard time expressing how they're similar and different, so that you could just pick it on the second question, because I want to be clear about if you're better able to compare and contrast. Okay? Sound good? Okay. So what we'll do from here is this check for understanding is going to be the closeout of our mini lesson. And then when we're done, I'll review these and see how you guys are coming along to figure out if you need some more support. Okay? Okay, so you guys can go ahead and start reading your passages, and then when you're done reading the passage, go ahead and put your exit ticket.
Oh, do you have another pencil?
All set? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead and close out our lesson. What I'll do is I will take a look at your exit tickets, and then I'll either write some feedback on them, or I'll come back and meet with you guys one-on-one, so that you'll just know where you are in comparing and contrasting, and then I'll let you know next steps, like if you need more work with it, if you're good to go and you're ready to work on the next thing that you need to work on. But I'll either write feedback on the exit ticket, or I'll come back and conference with you guys one-on-one. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.